It is a tumultuous summer for travel. Airlines have canceled flights from Ukraine to Israel, and a new survey just released by TheStreet.com shows that 36% of Americans are afraid to fly. That is more than a third of our country. So before you pack your bags, you want to listen up. For all that and more, I want to bring in the editor-in-chief of TheStreet.com, Janet Guyon. So nice to have you with us, Janet.
So nice to meet you.
So we have now seen a number of flights canceled. They get canceled all the time, but now recently, as a result of Ukraine, as a result of instability in the Middle East, we've now seen flight cancellations. And this startled me, though. The 36% of Americans saying they don't want to travel by plane?
Yeah, 36% of Americans say they are afraid to fly internationally, and it's actually greater on the East Coast versus the West Coast. So on the on the East Coast, more than 40% of people say they don't want to fly internationally, where on the West Coast, it's in the 25%. And women more than men, so 42% of women, according to our survey, don't want to fly internationally, 27% of men, and older people more than younger people.
And what do you think is the reason for that breakdown?
Well, a lot of it is men tend to be, more adventurous than women anyways. Women tend to be more afraid. I think the East Coast, West Coast thing, which is really interesting, is that I just think the East Coast is a little bit more aware of all the conflicts going on in Europe and the Middle East. So they tend to be a little bit, it seems like closer to them.
And there's also issues, though, this summer with driving.
Well, if you don't want to fly, and you want to save money, you should drive. It's a lot cheaper. Particularly if you have a family, you don't have to spend so much money on ticket prices. But the thing about driving is that when people plan their trip, about 95% of people actually overspend whatever their budget is.
Because as you're driving along the road, you inevitably come upon something that you end up spending money on.
Sure, you stop to shop, the kids are in the back seat, they want to stop at their favorite restaurant, maybe you pack sandwiches, you say, oh, well, we won't eat those, we'll stop at Chipotle or something.
I would be the one to stop at Chipotle, I'm not gonna lie. But in terms then of planning a good summer vacation and staying within budget, what's your recommendation?
Well, there are a number of apps you can use. Gas Buddy, there's an app called Gas Buddy that will help you save money on
Fantastic
gas prices. And then there are a number of reward cards. So there's a couple of reward cards for gasoline in particular that give you 3 or 4% back. Both American Express has something called Blue Cash, and Visa has a card called PenFed, which also gives you about 3 to 4% back on your gas purchases.
So 2 cards, the American Express Blue Cash?
Blue Cash, that's right.
And the Visa?
And the Visa PenFed.
PenFed
is what it's called.
Thank you so much, Janet Guyon.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you joining us from TheStreet.com.
Great.